Welcome to this channel, Kojex Consult Edu and ICT. This is our YouTube channel and we deal with standardized tests. And today we'll be looking at IELTS speaking. We've already looked in previous videos, we've already looked at general structure of IELTS, but today we shall be looking at the skills that are required for you to actually deal with each of the sections of the IELTS speaking. Stay tuned, don't go away. First section is the section 1, which we call the interview question. Now, the interview questions are very basic, and I will be treating some of them with us here, and I would be taking it from a material I would display, and then we have the part 1, as you can see on the board. Let me adjust my camera a bit so that I'll have space to put it there. As you can see on the board. Now, the question will start like this. Now, let's talk about where you grew up. Like I said in my previous video, where we have section 1, the interview, section 2, the long turn, whereby you speak for like 2 minutes uninterrupted, and we have section 3, which is the discussion, and that is the most complex of all of them. Some people think it's section 2, but no, it's not section 2, it's actually section 3. Now, so back to section 1. Now, this question you have on the board in front of you, let's talk about where you grew up. Now, the response would be, remember what I taught in the previous video. Number 1, sound complex. Number 2, be fluent. Number 3, sound natural. And remember the 4 parameters: your pronunciation, your lexical resources, your coherence, which is the logic of what you are saying, and the fluency. And lastly, your language. Now, the first part is describe the town or city where you grew up. Now, for the task 1, I have 2 skills basically I tell people to employ. And because you must not give just one sentence, you can give it, even if you're going to give a sentence, let it be a compound or a complex sentence that has multiple clauses. That way you'll be able to actually effectively deal with it. But the first question here is, the 2 approaches are: number 1, the moving from general to specific, and the second approach is the 3-step approach to answering speaking. So the general to specific. The question here is, describe the town or city where you grew up. Give a general description of it, give a specific description, and then give an example. So look, this one, I said, describe the town or city where you grew up. I'll start by saying this. I grew up in Ibadan. For the purpose of this class, I'll just say, I grew up in Ibadan. Ibadan is the largest city in West Africa. That's the general. I'll give specific. Ibadan is known for its hospitality. That's the specific. And I'll now give an example to support that specific. For instance, when I was having my NYSC, I came to Ibadan City. I knew nobody. In spite of the fact that I am not an Ibadan person or a Yoruba person, a lot of people were willing to give me, or a lot of persons were willing to offer me accommodation for free until I was able to get my own. So that is it now. So I gave the general, I gave this specific, then I give an example. So that's what we call the general to specific. And it should be structured because IELTS understands structure. So then the next question is, do you still live there now? Then this one now, some people could just say yes. IELTS does not require you to say yes or no. Even if you're going to say yes or no, you must give further explanations. So remember, you can say, well, I still live there at the moment. I want to give a complex response to it. Apart from giving a complex structure, I also want to give a complex response. So I'll start by saying, well, I still live there now, but actually, most times I am in Lagos because I work in Lagos. But because my family is in Ibadan, I traverse Lagos, Ibadan. You see it now? Then the next one, does your family still live there? They may not ask you this question this way because you've already said because my family still live there. But if it comes, you can say, and like I said, my family still lives there because we have a family house there. You see, I'm always adding it because I'm always conscious of my structure. Then the last one, do you think the place has changed much since you were young? Now, this one is also like a little bit a complex question. I'll say, well, there is no place that actually doesn't change over time. So Ibadan has actually changed from how it used to be described as an ancient city of brown roofs to modern city with complex and modern day buildings. Also, there is serious improvement in the transportation system in Ibadan because it is now more coordinated by the Ministry of Transportation. So like that, I've answered this the whole questions. And with this, you should be able to score an 8 if you don't have grammatical errors, and because everything was on point. We answered the question correctly under coherence, under pronunciation. Of course, it is known that you are a second language speaker, so everything will be 100% correct. So that would not affect your score greatly. What the two things that will affect your score will be your coherence, the logic, what you are saying, if it's making sense, and your ability to vary your words, vocabulary, and then your language. If everything is correct in that order, you should be able to score an 8/9 band. So that is for the first part. Now let's look at the second part. So treating this part, I'm actually treating directly from the question, so to actually explain the speaking. So let's look at section 2. Now for the task 2, IELTS would actually give you a card where you find this question, and they'll give you 60 seconds to prepare your response, and you are going to speak for about 2 minutes uninterrupted. So let's look at this one now. Describe a sport event you enjoyed watching. You should say what event you watched, where you watched it, who you watched it with, and explain why you enjoyed watching it. You see, when I have something like this in front of me, I know that I have like an average of 30 seconds to speak on every aspect. So I'm going to maximize my time to ensure that I speak for about 30 seconds. How do you know if you've spoken for 30 seconds? When you give like 2 to 3 sentences, and you have complex sentences among them, you've spoken for like 20-something seconds. So you don't need to look at the time. And know that if you've been practicing also, you also know that, each time you speak like this, you speak for this length of time. So let's look at this one now. So I want to go speak like a lady who doesn't know anything about sports, because my students often complain, Mr. Ernest, I don't know this and all of that. I don't know this, I don't know anything about sports. What you don't know about sports is what you should even say. They said you should describe an event you enjoyed watching. You should say what events you watched, where you were, and who you watched it with. So I'll start by saying, well, as a lady, I'm not a fan of sports, so I don't really enjoy watching sports. But if I must say I enjoyed watching any sport, then I would say it was actually a match between Nigeria and Cameroon. You see, now for the first one, I've already I did a little bit of rigmaroling to actually establish that, but I don't want to just stop there. I still want to say a little bit about Nigeria and Cameroon to actually buy some time. I'll say Nigeria and Cameroon are known as the best footballing nations in Africa. Nigeria priding itself as the giant of Africa in everything, and Cameroon, who thinks that they've not actually gotten the honor they deserve in terms of their abilities in football, became the two countries actually were to participate in the finals, and in the end it was something everybody had been looking forward to. So now I've actually said a little bit about the background to the rivalry. Then I now want to go into the next question, which is where you were. Actually, on that particular day, we're supposed to watch the match at the stadium. I could just fabricate any stadium because nobody actually knows what they are saying. Nobody actually wants to actually verify the authenticity. So I'll go on to say, on that particular day, we're supposed to watch the match at Adamasingba Stadium. But because I was not feeling too well, my husband decided that we'll be watching it at home. And thank God, he had just purchased a 70-inch television that would give us that very good viewing experience. And because we're going to be watching it at home, my husband had already made provisions for things, because if we were to watch it at the stadium, we would have probably bought some drinks and snacks and all of that. So my husband had already bought drinks and snacks to make the watching experience very okay. Though it's not also good to use to modify something in IELTS if you can avoid it. So we actually have a class on that to make the experience palatable. Maybe we could say something like that. And he had also bought enough petrol in the generator to ensure that we would have stable power supply. You see now, though I'm deviating a little bit, but I'm not going off topic. And then I would have held that second aspect for at least close to 30 seconds or 30 seconds. Then the last one is who you watched it with. Then now, to say that, it's very easy, fabricate people. Because we were actually supposed to go watch it at the stadium, if my husband's neighbor had already planned on going with us, but when plans changed, he still decided to come to our house to watch it because he knew he was going to have a nice time. And my husband wanted him around because he would be able to give us good insight into the footballers, since my husband didn't know much about so many footballers. And then, of course, some of our neighbors who also realized that they may not be able to pay the stadium fee, decided to come to our house to watch it. So we're about 11 in our sitting room, and it was filled to the brim. So that way, I've described about people who came to watch it with me. Now, the next thing is, and explain why you enjoyed watching it. So I'll just start by, well, like I said, I'm not a football fan. I don't like football. The only reason I even watched it in the first place was because my husband forced me. And on that particular day, Big Brother Nigeria was airing its finals, and to declare to announce the winners of the Big Brother Nigeria season, whatever season it was we're having that particular year. And so my husband didn't allow us to watch that, so I was already very angry. But in the end, Nigeria lost to Cameroon, and it was a very sad experience for my husband, and that was what eventually gave me the joy to see him actually feel a little bit of discomfort, because it forced me to watch what I didn't want to watch. So while people were actually sad and in pensive mode, I was actually happy, celebrating and in the mood of jubilation, because I was forced to watch it. That was the only reason why I enjoyed watching the match. Other than that, I don't like football. So these are some of the ways you can actually respond to some of these questions. I actually try to answer it from a perspective of a person who doesn't like football. But if I were going to answer it on my own, I would have gone a little bit into technicalities and all of that, and I would have been able to say better things, because I enjoy watching football. But of course, I'm just trying to let you know that even if you don't know anything about it, still what you don't know about football and all of that, you still get to mind, because what they are checking is your ability to use English, to communicate effectively. And then the last one is more complex, because you are asked academic questions, and you could still use some of the ideas we used in section 1 to answer this. But in this case, it's just that you have more complex questions. We may not be able to treat it for purpose of this class, but I'll just go through the questions. They said, let's consider first of all watching sports. How expensive is it to go to sports events in your country? The second one, do you think it is different watching a sports event on television and going to watch it in person? In what ways? Do you think there is too much sport on TV, and why? Finally, why do you think sports people often become media stars today? Now, if these questions are tough for you and you want me to answer them, please indicate in the comment section, and I promise to do a video on it, and I'll answer all of them, because they are more complex than section 1 and section 2. Trust me. And you should be able to answer this, and this is where they actually check your fluency and coherence a lot more than the other ones, because the other ones are something that things you could just easily freestyle. But things like, if you say, how do you think sports people often become media stars today? Many people may not even be able to answer that, So let me know in the comment section, and I'll be able to respond to you. So please remember to subscribe and comment and like this video. And in another video, we'll be looking at other aspects of IELTS. Thank you. I remain Ernest Omozugbe Adebayo Okoje, also known as Terminator, CEO and Program Director, Kojex Consult Education and ICT, where we train people on all standardized tests such as IELTS, TOEFL, SAT, GRE, GMAT, Duolingo, PTE, and any English related test you can think of.